Chief, you said that as you're looking at him, Vigo was to the right. You sure you to the right or to the left?
When I write, he had to be, Vigo was here.
Vigo was there?
Right.
Now, you're saying Rufo's knees was in the patient's chest?
His knee, one knee.
You sure he wasn't straddling him?
No, his knee was in his chest.
In his chest?
Yes. Or even up around his throat area.
Was Mr. Howe physically moving?
Couldn't. He was wedged under the chair. He was actually wedged under that chair.
But he couldn't move his legs?
I don't know. I didn't see that. I didn't. My concern was to get the officer.
So at the point of time you saw him, he was not physically resisting or fighting?
I can't answer that.
You can't answer.
I don't know.
Would you know if either of the two officers was trying to put handcuffs on him?
I didn't see any handcuffs out, and I didn't see anybody attempting to put any handcuffs on anybody.
Did you hear the officer say you're under arrest?
No.
Let's assume for the sake of argument that prior to your arriving on the scene, Officer Ruffo did attempt to place Mr. Howe under arrest for whatever reason. Reasons are not important. He complied with your wish and Mr. Howe was righted. What would the next logical step have been in a situation where someone was offering resistance to being arrested if a person had been arrested? Would it have been to attempt to handcuff him?
Yes.
And if so, what is the procedure for that?
To inform the person that he's under arrest, number one.
Yes.
Then to attempt to put handcuffs on him. That would be the procedure.
And if the patient resisted being handcuffed, what would one do? What would be a reasonable thing for a police officer to do?
Well, it depends on how he's resisting. That's a very hard question to answer, depending on what force he's using against the officer.
Well, let's assume for the sake of argument that the altercation, the physical altercation, was initiated by Mr. Howe. He had actually shoved Officer Ruffo, causing him to drop things, break things, whatever. And then it became physical. He fell. He wasn't pushed. Let's just say for the sake of argument he fell. And he's kicking and screaming and fighting and has been told that he's under arrest. Now, unfortunately, Officer Ruffo doesn't have his handcuffs because he's in plain clothes, but Vigo does. He asks for the handcuffs. The handcuffs or whatever. In the meantime, Vigo calls for someone to assist. Other people arrive. You see Mr. Howe on the ground. Officer Ruffo is in the act of restraining him. He's resisting arrest. You ask him to stand up, and he does. What would, in your opinion, given the circumstances I've told you, been a reasonable thing for a police officer to do with a person who is resisting arrest?
Again, I can't answer that question in this particular case because when I arrived there, like I said, the officer was on top of him. When I said to get off him, he was, I guess, lifted up or whatever. Everything was in compliance. The patient was not resisting. But Ruffo had his arm up in his back, trying to lift it up to his neck, which is almost impossible to do. That's what really annoyed me. And he was told several times, there was a lot of people there at this point, to let him go, and he refused. That was my concern.
Had there ever been any other incidents similar to this with police officers and stuff?
Yes.
Can you just tell us about them?
Sure. I have them right here, if I may.
Yes, you may. I'm not sure. We may have to put some of that documentation into evidence at some point and get copies of it for the record, but yes.
On one occasion, January 22nd, 1999, I'm going to read this because this is a long time ago and I really don't remember it.
That's incident.
I'm sorry.
That's incident.
No, it's not. This is another incident. This is with my volunteer, who is in his 70s also.